The most common technique problem we see when using the mouse is moving from the wrist and fingers only. This stresses the muscles and tendons of the forearm, wrist, and fingers, especially when considering the number of repetitions you do throughout the day. Before evaluating your technique, I want you to check your setup first. The first step is to make sure your fingers are totally relaxed on the mouse. There should be no gap between the body of your mouse and your fingers. If you lift your fingers up, you are going to increase the amount of wrist extension. Second, make sure your wrist is in neutral position. Neutral position of the wrist and hand is your forearm in line with your wrist, and the wrist is slightly raised up and the fingers in a slight arch, similar to the shape of a rainbow. Make sure your elbow is at the same level as the mouse surface. You may have to tilt your keyboard tray or raise or lower your mouse surface to get your wrist in the correct position. If you are still unable to position your hand correctly, I would recommend you talk to your ergonomics evaluator. Third, make sure you are not reaching for the mouse, either by left mousing or using a short keyboard. It is difficult to use this technique and be comfortable if you are overreaching for the mouse. Once you have set yourself up correctly, practice this technique. To do large cursor motions, such as going from the top of the screen to your taskbar, relax your hand on the mouse and move from the shoulder only. Notice how your wrist and fingers can be totally relaxed and your shoulder just has to move a small degree. The palm side of your wrist is barely touching the work surface when you move. It's skimming the surface only. Once you finish the movement, you should rest down, preferably with your forearm in a neutral position, either on the side of your mouse or in the front of your keyboard. This is the preferred position when you are pausing, reading, or reviewing your work. To do small cursor motions, such as highlighting a couple of words, use wrist motion with the fingers relaxed. Only a small amount of wrist motion is required. If you need to do precision motions, such as getting into a small box or doing graphics, you can move through your fingertips slightly. For scrolling, instead of overusing your index finger, we recommend you use your shoulder while keeping your wrist and fingers relaxed, or using your navigation buttons such as page up, page down, or arrow buttons with your wrist straight. Make sure you balance the workload between the buttons and the mouse. To summarize, keep your fingers in a neutral position and relaxed. Use the shoulder for large cursor motions, wrist for small motions, and fingers for precision only. Scroll using your shoulder with your hand relaxed, or use the navigation buttons with a straight wrist. Rest by taking your hands off the mouse as often as you can.